Hello everyone, and welcome to learn basics of startup entrepreneurship with Startup Mindset Framework. This framework is available in English and in Finnish on our website. You can find the link in the comments. At first, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Ilona Ukkonen. I'm working as a project manager and entrepreneurship specialist at LAG Viisari. We locate in Saarijärvi, Finland. And our other experts and startup specialists are Jana, Tapio and Ilkka. Maybe you could introduce yourselves next.
Yes, hello. I will take the mic. Very nice to be here. My name is Jana Saastamoinen. I'm the head organizer of Startup Day, which is the biggest business festival in the Baltics, taking place every year in January in Tartu.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ilona, for inviting me to join this discussion. I'm Tapio Seppä-Lassila from Seinäjoki. It's in the West Coast area in Finland. I work as a business coach here in Into Seinäjoki. Into Seinäjoki is a company owned by City of Seinäjoki, and my main task is to coach startups and ongoing companies to make better business.
Hello, my name is Ilkka Sillanpää. I'm coming from Tampere, Finland, and I'm an entrepreneur and working as a management consultant and business developer and advisor for SMEs and stock listed companies. And then I'm an angel investor, so doing angel investments from my behalf and from my company behalf. And one co-founder of the investment company called Korpun Siemen, where we are investing to seed stage startup companies. Nice to be here.
Okay, yes. Thank you for all of introduction. And next here, a few details and facts about this topic and the Sisu business project. The Startup Mindset Framework is produced in the project. Sisu business aims to add knowledge on building entrepreneurship identity and possibility recognition in northern central Finland and rarely sparsely populated rural areas. Project also aims to add knowledge on new business models and sustainable development, new ways of entrepreneurship and welfare of the entrepreneurs. The project is co-funded by the European Union via Centre for Economic Development, Transport and Environment of Central Finland. Yes, and next we go to the framework itself. And the first part of the framework is creativity. We need creativity every day in our lives, but when we talk about startup entrepreneurship and innovations arise from radical creativity. Radical creativity is a term and concept that you can check out, for example, on the Aalto University Radical Creatives pages, and there's a free course of radical creativity also. We need creative thinking and objectivity, and the starting point in entrepreneurship is an idea that arises from the desire to change the world. We need the creativity to solve one problem, product, service, or operating model at the time. And SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, gives point of views and many topics for these ideas to born. And to be able to preserve and grow well-being and build possibilities and hope for the future in the rural areas, we need radical creativity. It means that we have new ideas, we build new thinking, we experiment things, and we embrace also ambitious entrepreneurship. In Sisu Business Project, we are focusing on rural areas, and rural areas have an unlocked potential, development potential, which can be developed to quite a next level, but we have to tackle the known challenges. There are long distances, for example. The services are digitalized. And of course, there are a lot of elderly people, and these are sparsely populated areas that we are now focusing on. So we need cooperation with citizens, associations, companies, and organizations such as local regional development companies and educational institutions. Creativity is so important that we can have new thinking, new ideas. And when we think today and the future, digitalization is of course the bridge and tool to make things happen. If we think that these challenges that we have on rural areas, but generally, of course, also. Next section is in the framework innovations, and innovations can be described in many ways. In this framework, for example, innovation can be told as an implementation of a new idea, product, service, or process that adds value or improves the current situation. It can also be an invention or an improvement on an existing thing, a change that affects as a benefit, such as increased efficiency or reduced costs. You can make an innovation. An innovation can be born from noticing a problem or opportunity and by thinking differently. And that's where we need the creativity also, radical creativity. A new idea is the key, but only experimenting can lead to solution. So to innovate, you need radical creativity, curiosity, and persistent attitude also. And you can, for example, observe what frustrates people or what is challenging and difficult for people. You can create better ways to do things. Test fast and fail fast, gather information, gather also facts for testing your idea, and make sure you value add with your solution. That's how innovation can be described. What do you think, Jana? Do you have thoughts of innovation also from the term point of view?
So when we're thinking about innovation and starting a small business or a startup, it's quite important to think about what this new aspect is for the business that you're starting. And when we're thinking about starting a new business, then there's a lot of discussion usually about, is it a startup or is it a small business? So maybe we should think about the term of what is a startup and if it's even important in the context of your business. When we're thinking about a startup, usually it's defined as a company that's less than 10 years old and that it has a innovation or innovative aspect to the product or service, and that it can be quickly scaled. And usually startups require some venture capital or investor money to continue the scaling and the growth of their company. Ideally, a startup has some sort of intellectual property that it has to protect, which is also very interesting for investors. But there's a lot of like subcategories if you think about fintech startups and deep tech startups that have their own kind of rules of what makes it a startup. And alternatively, perhaps it's also completely okay to just start a small business that doesn't scale, but it creates some new jobs and it solves some practical needs. So maybe here I will hand over to Tapio to talk about customer needs and why it's so important.
Okay, thank you, Jana. Thank you. I agree your thoughts about innovation and other. What comes to customer needs, I would say it's a crucial sector while running a startup. If we talk about startup success, the very important thing is to stop and think thoroughly, are we solving a real customer need? Too often I have seen the excitement starts from our own idea, but without genuine market demand, the idea will not become a sustainable business. So my recommendation is that the first step is to identify a problem and its owner. Who is the customer who truly is suffering from this problem, what we are solving? Is it a consumer, business, or community? At this point, it's important to separate the user from the payer. They are not always the same person. For example, in edutech, the student uses the product, but the municipality is the payer. We know. This distinction drives the entire revenue model. And about customer need, another critical point is the value proposition. Why would the customer choose our solution and be willing to pay for it? Is it cost savings or better user experience or another compelling advantage? And which is that? A strong value proposition captures the attractiveness of the solution in some few concise sentences. You have to be able to write or speak it very shortly and very understandable. And then, third point, when talking about customer needs, that's validation. A customer need can't be proven from your desktop study and individual thinking. You have to go to the field, conduct interviews, test prototypes, and run pilots, discuss with people, present your innovation or your prototype or your MVP model. So this way you can avoid building a product that no one or very few people actually wants or need, even though you are sometimes making a best product in the world. But is there any need for that kind of best product? And fourth, you have to think and outspeak the market size and the monetization. How it's possible to, and which which a load of money the investors can get out if they are joining to your company, if you are looking for investors. Even a good need remains small, small if the target group is too narrow or willingness is to pay is absent, I say. That's why it's so important to evaluate the potential market and check out competitiveness and realistic revenue streams. The revenue streams, they can be very there might be many variations about revenue streams. There's not only one and only right. This way you can demonstrate to the investors and customers and other peoples, is it only a good idea? Why would it be a good business as well? Okay, in summary, understanding the customer needs means basically 3 different points, and a startup owner should be able to answer in 3 questions. Whose problem we are solving, why the customer will pay for it, and which size is the market, your target market. Those 3 points. That's those are the topics I would recommend for every startup owner to check out and think thoroughly. What do you think about those?
I think it's super important to validate your ideas with the people who will be paying for it and the people who will be using it. So completely agree with everything you said, Tapio.
Excellent.
Let me comment also that when people are thinking entrepreneurship and their idea, of course, there's opening a huge variety of things to think. So in customer need, it depends if your customer is an individual or a company or an organization and so on. And customer need, maybe part of it can be gathered as an information beforehand you meet people, the facts, the statistic, that every information that is on hand. But like you, Tapio, said, it's crucial to go to the field and talk with people.
Yeah, very often the startup owners, they do say, I can't tell about my idea because otherwise it will be shared up all over the world, and after that it's not anymore mine and everyone is doing that. Yeah, that might be true, but there are always paths and possibilities to open your idea and open your solution or investigate your potential customer crew or something like that. There are always options to make those validations. That's too. You are a lazy validator if you are satisfied about that. Yeah, I can't tell this anymore, or there are always possibilities to open somehow your idea and validate it.
And perhaps if your idea is so easily stealable, then it will also be very easily replicable once you do launch.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't do things on your own. So maybe we could go next to the topic of teams.
Yes, so the team or the people who you run your business with might be the most important factor for success. Of course, after you have an idea and you validate it with your customers, but the team is the people who will bring it to life. And in a startup setting, usually there's 2 or 3 co-founders, so the people who start building it and take the most responsibility. Some very successful startups are also single-founded, but as the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, do it with a team. So most investors prefer 2 or 3 co-founders, and if you have more, then it might get a little bit messy. But when investors think about, should I invest in the startup or not, the team is usually one of the most important things they look for, because ideas, product, services can be changed. It's not so easy to change a team, and it's actually quite important that the team is ready to adapt, pivot if needed. So when you think about who to surround yourself with, really think about who are the expertise that will complement yours, who are the people that can get stuff done. And if you are a tech person, for example, then you probably need a business person or a marketing and sales person. If you are a business person, then you'll probably need someone who can code. So really make sure that your founding team has all of the expertise and all of the skills necessary to bring this idea to life. And what makes a successful team profile-wise is also that your values are aligned, that you have clear roles, don't step on each other's toes, and that you really know how to cooperate. You know how to manage under stress, because founding a startup is very stressful, especially in the start and continuing on in the future as well. And as managers, before you take on employees to join you, really make sure that you are prepared for it, that you continuously grow, that you make connections with other founders to discuss, and that you are good under pressure, because there will be a lot of stress. And Ilkka here is also an investor. So what are the things that you look for as an investor in teams?
Team is everything, I would say, and I agree everything what you have stated. So basically, a good team has a few amount of persons, 2 to 3 specialists who are able to execute and do the business from the innovation. And the most important for many investors are that there are enough competencies and skills available in the team, some experience from the field where you are operating and where you are doing the business. And not only 3 engineers, even if I'm also engineer from my background, but not only 3 engineers, you need a business persons as well. You need someone who are able to lead and coordinate everything. So who is the CEO? And as Jana, you told, the team should work together well. So there have to be clear roles and responsibilities. And of course, it should be fun to work together with the team.
Yes, that makes the stress a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Okay. Team is important. One thing came to my mind when we talk about solo entrepreneurs or people who are working alone, then the team is probably built of other people outside the company. What do you think about that? Is it good for a solo entrepreneur to also recognize what their team are? Because they are in the field, they can be cooperative partners or also customers. So what is the team for a solo entrepreneur?
I think maybe it depends on what business you're running. If you're a solopreneur, entrepreneurship business is running some sort of agency, then your team might be the people you outsource or or your clients, or if you're just a solo founder who has hired people to help with the business or the marketing, then those connections are maybe what your team is.
Yeah, exact. And on my opinion, if you are a solo entrepreneur, are you really running a startup business, or are you running some kind of a traditional business, even though it would be a good business? But if you are solo agent, how about the scalability? Are you have you selected outsource everything and so on? It might be possible, but it's very, very rare. So while speaking and talking about startups, maybe not 100%, but over 90% that there should be a team. In early beginning, one man, one girl, one lady can start a company and developing idea, but while seeking the growth and investors and customers and developing the product, and I would say it's so rare to be a one-man show. You almost every time need a team for startup growth. Very good business you can run by yourself own, but while talking about a startup, you almost every time need a somehow team of your own, not only outsource stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tapio. And I think that if we are thinking about the unicorns and the most successful cases of the fast scaling startup companies, there is a quite big teams, and the teams are scaling as the business is scaling quite normally also. So definitely very, very crucial thing if you are aiming to scale your business and building up a scaling startup business, you have to find a team who are working together.
Yes. This is important discussion because there's so many terms in the field of entrepreneurship, and people who are learning these things first time and thinking about entrepreneurship, startup term can be new, and you don't know what it means and so on. But solo entrepreneurs, like you said, can also be startups, but they have to have a team around them. And it's quite rare, like you said. A startup team needs many kinds of knowledge and expertise. And maybe next topic, the impact also tells more about the startup entrepreneurship. What about Tapio?
Yeah. And while thinking about success and success factors of a startup, one point is always the revenue and growth curves and so on. But I'd say that increasingly important also is a impact that a startup creates in the world where it works. And what comes to impact, when we are discussing about impact, the first perspective is always a economic impact. How does the solution create value? Does it generate new business opportunities to customer, or new jobs, or cost savings? That's a very common topics the customer are looking for. And a startup company must be able to demonstrate that what it's building is a sustainable business and can grow and scale. And secondly, there is a social impact. Quite many solutions can improve community well-being, increase equality or strength inclusion. While thinking about social media systems or WhatsApp or what else, those communications, the impact of social meaning of social impact is huge. That's one point why they have a growth so large. And then the third thing is and nowadays it's maybe more important that we have thought 10 years, 20 years ago is aspect of environmental impact. Customers, investors, and whole the society expect solutions that support the sustainable development and maybe even the United Nations 2030 agenda goals. But how all over the social impact, how our world will be better and more friendly for all of us on the globe while using your solution. It might be different ways to solve that. Is the solution resource efficient? Does it help reduce emission or promote the circular economy as well? And then there is, while talking about impact, we have to think about scalability and sustainability. Impact must not be one-off effect, but something that grows along the market. It's important to show that as the business grows, the positive impacts multiply, not the negative impact ones. That's not so clear if we are thinking about the traditional factory world and traditional business. But nowadays, if your business is growing, the positive social, environmental, other impact, they have to be scalable as well, positive sectors. And in summary, investors, customers, and partners ask the same question: what benefit does this bring to us and to the other world? This is something very near to customer need, but this is maybe we can separate this from customer need, this impact, because impact is something which stays to the globe. I said something about edutech in a customer need, where the user is a student in the school, but the payer is a municipality. If we think where's the impact of edutech solutions, on one side there's a impact for one student or one person. She gets new abilities and can grow in her profession and his life, and maybe get better job and good salary and so on. And for the whole municipality and for whole society, the people which are educating themselves, the society, education of the whole society and understanding about different things grows up. So there is two sides of impact in edutech, I said. But the impact, it stays. customer needs, yes, you will need something and it would be very useful and so on, and you are willing to pay it. But impact, is it environmental or social or whatever? There should be some kind of staying in impact in successful business. That's my idea. Long story.
Yes, good thoughts. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think when I was listening to Tapio, I started thinking that startups with the funding that they receive have a lot of opportunity to create a bigger impact than traditional businesses that need to think about their salaries, versus if you get, say, if you really solve a problem and you know what you're doing and you prove this to investors who give you quite a lot of money for a runway so you can pay your salaries to research and development, then this gives startups this unique opportunity to have a huge impact for even in cancer research or changing the world in some other super positive way that it would be really, really difficult to do in the traditional sense.
Oh, yes.
And if you are interested more about impact, you can check out, for example, startups that are already running. There's many startups like that have solved these food waste problems, for example, these phenomena that can be seen in our daily lives. So those can be startup ideas also, and they are impactful. So maybe we could talk about impact one day and also these other topics, but let's go next to the funding. And Ilkka.
Yeah, maybe I can start that based on my experience and understanding, I would say that every company needs a funding, whether it is a small company, small business company, or a startup company. And funding is quite easy to organize when your business is fundable. So meaning that when you have all the aspects considered and when you have enough record available, so then you are able to get the funding. And what you have to have for funding is that you have to have a valid business plan. You have to have a pitch deck where you present your idea and some amount of traction. And the traction could be interviews with the potential customers or understanding the market needs. And in the ideal case, you could have some sales or revenue available. Some traction that there is a business case available. And the similar type of things are needed for whether the funding is public or private funding. In public and in private funding, it's quite a similar type of mindset what the people have. And when you are able to get private funding, meaning investments or loan from bank or guarantees or whatever, you are able to, or I would say that is like a catalyst to get public funding. For example, ELY-keskus or Business Finland grants or guaranteed loans needs normally some amount of private funding. And I would say all of these aspects what we have gone before are relevant and important for the funding. What I would like to highlight is the team and the skills and competencies of the team members and the traction what the team has. And especially in the early stage startups, it's the most important thing what the investors are are evaluating. But later on, when you have a record, when you have turnover sales, it's more easier to analyze the business itself. But in the early beginning, team is everything, I would say. Nowadays, funding is a bit difficult to get. The market environment has changed a lot, but still the best cases, the best companies, best teams get the funds and funding in this market situation as well.
When we are talking about startups and funding, could you, Ilkka, open for people who are not familiar with funding rounds? How could you explain it? And of course, when the startup has had funding the first time, maybe the second rounds are easier to get. But can you open this a little bit?
Yeah. In the startup companies, it's quite normal that the first funding round is collected from your family, from your friends, other fools who believes to you and your idea, or even your own pocket. And then the next step, next round could be the business angels. So business angels are normally doing syndicates and investing together and try to boost the business forward so that you are able to enter in the third round, which is then normally VC or other investor round. And it continues even A, B, C, D, E rounds. It depends what type of business you are doing and how much funding you need to scale the business. And on the top of this private funding, you have to utilize also the public funding. So that is the best way to even duplicate the total amount of funding you could have. So in Finland, we have a very good opportunities to get the public funding from Business Finland, but also from ELY-keskus.
Excellent. What would you, Ilkka, say about when is the proper time for start to negotiations with investor?
Yeah, it depends a lot and varies a lot what type of business you are doing and how much money you need for the startup to develop your product and your service in the level that you are able to show the scaling. But in many cases, the funding is taken in the very early stage, and of course you have to, or you should take as little amount of funding as needed. But in many cases, it's like a gasoline, so you have to have it, otherwise you are not able to develop and execute your vision. But I would say that in the early beginning, maybe it's the right time to take external funding.
Or even start the negotiations so you can hear about the directions what the investor hopes you are going to, even though you are not there, but maybe in half a year or in 1 year.
Yeah, that's true. And normally it takes like 3 to 6 months, in some cases up to 1 year to finalize the funding round. So you need to be sure what type of things you have to develop in your company to be fundable, to get the funding.
Thank you, Ilkka. And what about Jana? You have worked also with investors. Do you think proof of concept is quite important for them?
Yes, I think each investor probably looks at a little bit different things. I heard one investor give a good advice. They said that if you want money, go ask for advice from investors. And if you ask for money, you're probably going to leave with some advice. So these personal relationships are also very important, and I think Estonia especially, but Finland as well, it's not such a big country that you can't find someone that has a warm lead or go to some events to meet investors and chat before you go asking for money. And quite many founders say that when they are raising rounds, then their CEO just morning to evening has calls with investors booked for a couple months to pitch the idea, get feedback, and put this money together. Because like Ilkka said, these rounds take time to put together, usually involve quite many either investors or quite many VCs working together to get this large sum that you probably need.
Interesting topic. Funding also quite an essential. And next in the framework and last we have forecast and Ilkka.
Yeah, so statistically it's a quite dramatic statement here. So one in 10 startup companies succeed. But I would say that it depends and it varies a lot, and it depends how risky business you are developing. If you are in a deep tech business, it might be that it's more riskier than the traditional ones. And I would say that in many startup companies, you should take some risk to achieve a good result. So if you don't take a risk, is that a startup company? Then I don't know. For me, it sounds that it might be more like traditional small business or SME business. But in the startup business, you have to take risk, and that then maybe could lead in a very good success, but the other way also, so might be that there could be a fail as well. To manage the risk, I would say that you have to have the understanding of what are the main biggest risks could be happen to your company, to your startup, and how you are able to mitigate the risks. And many cases, the risks are somehow connected to the customer need, the innovation itself, the team-related risks, and of course the funding as well. It's also something about what are you aiming? What is your vision? What is enough success for you as a startup founder? Are you aiming to have a unicorn business, or is it enough for you if you are able to have a nice team and operate in Finland and doing the nice and profitable business? And that has an effect for the forecast, how possible it is to make a successful case.
Yes. Any thoughts, Tapio and Jana, about forecasting?
Yes, I was just thinking that sometimes it's okay to fail and wrap up. Maybe the investors aren't super happy, but the most important thing is to learn from it. If something doesn't go well, either so you can fix it or so you know better next time.
Yes, test fast, fail fast.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I would say there's no failed up startup owners. There are experienced startup owners.
Thank you for all. and your thoughts and ideas and your expertise of startup entrepreneurship. Here is the whole framework, and there's a lots of things to think about. I want to raise from the startup term the persona and IDG term that it opens up very interesting framework, also global framework called inner development goals is something that you should get acquainted to. Inner development goal is a framework for you to think your own inner thoughts and values and your relations to other people. So check it out. I will add also a link to the comments of IDG. We will publish this framework on our Sisu Business Project website. And thank you for listening. We are here showing the sources of this framework. And let's hope that you got some valuable information, some new thoughts about startup entrepreneurship through the startup mindset framework and from our experts. Yes. Thank you a lot, and see you in next webinar. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.